I think when a lot of people consider testosterone abuse, they specifically associate that with taking increasingly high dosages of testosterone or anabolic steroids. But what I think is not discussed enough, and the topic that I'm going to broach in this video, is the type of abuse that goes on for me when I'm in active addiction as someone on testosterone in the form of TRT and testosterone replacement therapy that doesn't specifically have to do with abusing dosages, but rather deals with my abusive lifestyle because I had testosterone and leaning on my TRT or my testosterone to compensate for destructive behaviors that will absolutely negate the positive effects of treating hypogonadism, which is what I was diagnosed with back in 2012 with bioidentical testosterone. And I'll try to explain, but I am going to process with you on the spot. So I was diagnosed with hypogonadism in 2012, and the first video I ever made on this platform discussed that.
Hey, YouTube. How about that for a nice and cheesy way to start a video? My name is Noah, and I've decided to start a mood journal because I have just begun testosterone replacement therapy. I suffer from major depression, anxiety, depersonalization disorder, and now low testosterone. That low testosterone part of all this could be just one of the main reasons I can't seem to get better.
I was in a treatment-resistant depression. I was dangerously suicidal and dealing with anxiety, depersonalization after a year plus in a treatment-resistant depression, and after experimenting with different shock therapies and psychiatric medications and being in and out of hospitals, they found out I had almost no testosterone in my body, and we treated it. And when I've been sober and pursuing health and wellness, my testosterone has been a lifesaver that someone like me couldn't survive without. Really couldn't. It's what has loaded the gun for me to be able to experience a meaningful and productive life. And when I have been in active addiction, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I'm sober now, one day at a time, and have been for a bit over 100 days. My testosterone remains as such. It's something that allows me to pursue being the person I think I was always meant to be, because when I was low T, undiagnosed, and untreated, my symptoms of low testosterone were so devastating, so pervasive and dangerous that I could barely survive. And I won't go into what all those symptoms are, but if you just look up low T symptoms and then parallel those symptoms with depression symptoms and anxiety symptoms, they mirror one another in a great many ways, and that's always been my experience. But in active addiction, I definitely abused my testosterone in that I knew that I could drink like crazy, and I did. And my hormone levels would still be propped up and supported. I could get away with not eating to then drink on an empty stomach, to get terrible sleep, and to live a really, really unhealthy lifestyle without it impacting my baseline hormones like someone who was not on exogenous testosterone. To me, as far as like the person I want to be and the kind of representation I suppose I would like to be as a man on TRT, wanting to be on TRT ethically and wanting to have integrity and values and morals surrounding men who need testosterone like me, I always knew that it was an abuse. I always knew like that's not what this is for. The testosterone in its worst possible form is there to make up for all the reasons it should be or would be low anyway. For me, I don't judge any man or person or woman, or I don't judge anybody for how they want to live and what relationship they have with any substance, be it testosterone or drugs or alcohol or whatever. Let me be very, very clear. I truly don't. I just can't judge anyone. I can't do it. And I'm trying not to judge myself these days either. But it always ate at me. It always ate at me to be completely disrespecting the whole reason I was on TRT. It always aided my self-esteem, and it was hard on my mental and emotional health to be taking testosterone, a life-saving treatment for me, to be taking testosterone while living a lifestyle that would 1,000% give me, if I didn't have it, horrible testosterone. Because what impacts testosterone? Alcohol abuse destroys testosterone production. But I knew I could get away with it. And if I wasn't on TRT, I think it would have impacted my drinking. Poor sleep impacts testosterone. Diet impacts testosterone. Stress, cortisol, all of these things impact testosterone. And I think if I'm doing it, or if I've done it, I know that there's a lot of men out there who are doing it as well, where we aren't addressing the reason we had low T to begin with. We're continuing to do the things that gave us low testosterone, and then we're leaning and we're using the testosterone as a band-aid, as a scapegoat for behaviors that will ultimately, I'll speak for myself, forgive me, I don't mean to bring anyone into this, will ultimately lead me to poor health and terrible health outcomes and untimely premature death. And it makes me sad. It makes me frustrated with myself. Granted, I'm an alcoholic in recovery. We all have issues. I've had mental health issues, and I was doing the best I could while I was doing it. But that's not what I ever wanted testosterone to be for me. When I first started testosterone, it was to save my life. I was suicidal. I was in and out of hospitals. I was on so many different psychiatric medications, just trying to survive. Testosterone was supposed to be a vehicle for me to return to health and to have a chance at life. I wouldn't even have a shot at any of this without it. It humbles me. It humbles me very much because I owe so much to it, to modern medicine. I'm so glad there's a space for a guy like me who would otherwise be devastated and likely dead. And something that's really important to me going forward is, first things first, stay sober, be in recovery for me. I need that as the foundation of everything. The potential to put my best foot forward as a man on HRT is predicated on me being sober. But then secondly, I would like to go back to my root values for hormone replacement therapy and treasure it and honor it and live a lifestyle that would yield really, really high testosterone, even if I didn't have it, so that testosterone can take its natural place as a part of my wellness, not as a crutch for my lack of wellness, not as a crutch for addiction, not as a crutch for food abuse and overeating and eating hyper-processed foods all the time, not as a crutch for getting poor sleep because I have testosterone, so my hormones won't be impacted, so I may as well. I don't want that for me. And truthfully, I don't think that's a good thing for any of us as men on TRT if it's something we need. But every man should do whatever is best for them and be wherever they are. Like, I'll meet you there type of thing. I always wanted people to meet me where I was. And yeah, I used it in the way it wasn't intended, in my opinion, for me for a long time. And I leaned on it for self-esteem, which is too bad because I don't think that's what it's about either. But I'm in a better place now. And I think it's good to talk about these things and to encourage men like me to not use their testosterone in that way and to do their best if they can to be as healthy and as thoughtful as they can so that testosterone doesn't lead to any poor outcomes, but can lead to really high outcomes for wellness, health, mental, emotional, physical. Being someone with extremely low T is devastating, and it has terrible, terrible long-term health consequences in the form of many chronic diseases. If you got anything out of that, God bless you. My thoughts were a little more disjointed than sometimes. In the comments below, let me know if you relate. Let me know if you've ever taken advantage of the fact that you're on TRT in the ways that I have in the past. How did that make you feel? What was that experience like? Have you found, like I've found, that being more balanced and thoughtful about my lifestyle and my relationship with all the things we discussed has led to a far better experience day to day, but also a better relationship with my testosterone replacement therapy, a more humble one, a more mindful one of why we're here and how grateful I am to be here, and how does that impact you? And if you're someone who struggles with addiction, get support if you can. I did, and it's meant the world to me. If you're wondering about your mental health and you're struggling with depression, anxiety, I was flaccid, for example, when I was low T, maybe get your hormones checked. See what that's all about. I have some links in the description that could help you get there. And otherwise, just thanks for spending some time with me, fellas. I do appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.